All right. Typical formation at 77 is a 2-3-1. Meaning you have two center backs like this 3 and 4, a central midfielder, a left mid and a right mid, and then a striker. There's a lot of good things about this formation. I think it's pretty balanced, and it attacks and defends well. But one formation that has fit me personally has been the 3-2-1. Just fits my personality. Usually fits the boys' personality. It's generally hard to find two center backs. And so what I'd like to do is have one center back, a left back or left out back and a right back, two center mids. Here just because I can't make them both eights, they're more like attacking mids at this age. Just because the field is small, it's hard to have a true six where you have a true midfielder, like a defensive midfielder. And so I like to see this. But building out has been hard because I've been kind of encouraging boys just to kind of build out almost like a 2-3-1, where now your sweep is acting as a center mid, which I think doesn't quite work on the build out. So I've had a crazy idea and I'm thinking about it. Instead of doing it something like this, I'm actually thinking of what if we put the two centers out and our backs out. Now, typically why I say this is because normally on a 4-3-3, like when you go 11v11, you'll have two center backs and you have a right back, full back, right? This is a typical build out looking formation, and then you have your centers, like three centers. So you really have like a 2-5 when you're building out on a typical 4-3-3 formation. So what I'm considering though is really trying to play to the fact that we have one center back and not masking it as much. Where we let our left and right backs kind of come out wide, the centers come out straight. Maybe we pull them in a little bit, and then let's see what the striker's out here. And then the sweep is picking a side based on preference, still wide enough, but building out like this. Now there's some inherent risks here. One, not enough people back if we lose the ball in our third, this being our third here. And so it's a little bit of a riskier formation, but I'm liking the idea of it in my mind. I kind of want to see it in action to see if it would actually work. So on a build out, right, the goalie, depending on the size of his kick, and I think we have some goalies that have decent kicks, that have the decent space, where the one can now decide where they want to put it. But if they pass out to the four has now got a immediate triangle with the mid there, the back here where they can pass either way and then potentially come back to switch the field using the goalie as opposed to if the sweep has a big kick, they could also kick it over that way. Or if they choose to go to the left side, right, they could do the left. And same to kind of mix it up, throw opposing teams off. Anyway, I'm thinking about it. So just like this is what it would be maybe kind of look at, right? Like perfect golden world scenario here. And we will see a lot of teams play the 2-3-1, and that's fine. So like that's kind of how they're going to be set up on a build out. If they're pressuring, we'll see this. A lot of times you'll see the 5 come down, depending on how disciplined the team is. Most disciplined teams will not bring that heavy of 4, right? They'll have 3 coming. And so what does this look like? So let's say the 1 decides to use the sweep to build out. Because the 1 potentially, right, spaces a lot of open spaces here and here. And depending on where these guys end up setting it, sometimes it leaves the 9 alone, the striker, which we've done before. And just put it right over the top of their heads. But if we're building out and we want to use the 4, what's going to happen usually, 7 and 4 will crash, which allows 3 and 6 to kind of play with the space. 8's coming down, right? 2's coming down on a potential switch. So if the 4 and 7 start covering up or it gets covered fast and you can't get the ball here, you could pass it back to the goalie and then pass it out to the 2 to come in and kind of draw people in with the pass back. Ideally, though, because of the chaotic situation and there's still enough room, the boys find angles and the 4 is able to make. Now that makes the 4... the idea of having 2 center backs is it's nice to have bigger boys down there who can be a little bit more physical. Sometimes that's not good if they do penalties, but it is, an idea. But the 4 would have to be someone with a high soccer IQ that could pass the ball well, that could recognize when spaces are being left, you know, where you could pass back. Oops, okay, pass the ball back or get it, or potentially if it's coming like this, right, pass up to the 8 based on the ball distribution and then and off. There's part of me who thinks we could create a lot of good angles here to give this 4 a lot of good options to pass out, and then also it gives the goalie options where he can immediately pass out to one of these. So I don't know, things I'm playing around with. You might see this in our scrimmage a little bit. And we'll see. But this would allow it to look a little bit more how we want to build to if when we go 9v9, which is potentially having 4 back. The problem with having 4 back in a 9v9 is the field is not as wide yet. And so you don't quite get to capitalize on all that field space. And so it does put you at a little bit of a disadvantage. An advantage when you go to 11v11, but a disadvantage at 9v9. Anyway, things to think about. Anyway, I'm going to try it out a little bit.